My name is Sharon Eckert. I'm the DLC for Hunt and Pearson Middle School. In the following video, you will see how our Pearson Math 8 and Algebra teacher, Nick Frederick, uses personalized playlists with his students.
Hi there, my name is Nick Frederick, and I am an 8th grade math and algebra teacher at Pearson Middle School. And today I'm just going to talk to you about how I've used personalized playlists in my classroom to differentiate for students. So this is my first year teaching, and so one of the things I was very overwhelmed by during the opening of school was all the different terms, like hyperdocs, hyperslides, click sheets. Of course, I've heard them all, but I had a hard time kind of like, what's the difference? And so what helped me was kind of understanding for myself what that looks like in my classroom. So maybe your definition is different, and that's okay, because everybody uses these tools a little bit differently. But for me, a hyperdoc or like a hyperslide or a click sheet, those are just shell documents that hold hyperlinked activities. So like this Google Doc you're seeing right now, this is just a hyperdoc activity. Nothing too interesting. I mean, every student gets it and it's awesome, but it just holds all the activities together for them. A playlist, on the other hand, it could be digital, it could not be, but we mostly use them to think of them as digital now, is a playlist. It's a hyperlinked, personalized playlist. So it's differentiated. It's not one size fits all. You've made kind of individual ones, or you've grouped students based on instructional need, and you've given them more personalization. And so it's kind of moving from hyperdocs, the differentiation, towards playlists is how I've used it. It's worked really well my first semester in my class, especially on block days. I'm able to get students caught up when they are struggling in certain areas, as well as give students some extension activities when they've mastered material. So the first thing I've done, and my things got all unorganized up here, but I created a skeleton, like an organizational skeleton in the Google Drive. So let me go here. I think it's right here. Perfect. So I set up a folder for all of my playlists. Second period, third period, fourth period, let's just say I have those 3 classes. I want to set up a folder for all of those. And this is just, again, my method and how I did it. The next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that there is an initial hyperdoc that I want to use. So that was the second step. It's just a hyperdoc. It's not personal yet. It's just every student's going to get the same thing, because the work with this first hyperdoc or this first activity is going to be making sure each student has their own individual one that you also have access to. So if we look at third period, there's a hyperdoc here, and I'll need that in a second. So let me just X out some of the other stuff. But that will be here. We're going to use it in a second. The next thing that's very interesting and very fun is Google Script. This link will allow us to make a bunch of different copies. So students can make copies and give you access. But instead of doing that, if you wanted to have all of your things already organized in one place, you could use Google Script to make a bunch of copies and then give students individual access, which is what I did. And if after this explanation you still need more information, there's more instructions right here on how to use this Google Script. But Google Script, you click that link, open, cut everything else we don't need. It's basically code. It's not basically, it is code. If you've never seen code before, this can be kind of daunting, but it's not. It's very simple. First thing first, go over here, File, make a copy. Make a copy. And then you're able to edit it. There's only 2 edits that we're going to make. The first is the class size. So if you see right here, there's explanations all throughout. But most importantly, we have right here. Change the number, it's 6, I don't know why I say 30, but to however many copies you want. So I want, let's say my third period has 20 kids. I want to change that I to 20. I think you might get a little bit extra, but yeah, just go ahead and put it in 20. That's good. And the other thing we're going to need to implement is a number from the actual document we want to copy, the document or Google Slides. So let me go back here to my third period, and this is the test hyperdoc I want to use. It is my koi pond hyperdoc. I love it. But there is a string of numbers that belongs to every Google Doc, every Google Slides up here in the URL. This is what it's talking about. We want to grab this 14G, J, all that jazz from backslash to backslash. And we want to control copy that. And then you want to come back to your copy docs. There's my copy. And then we put that string of letters right here. That's just an example. And what's very important and what's nice about this is you need to make sure, that's why we organize at the beginning, that there's a copy in your specific folder, because the way this script works is that it's going to make a copy in that folder. So we put the HyperDoc into my third period folder, so it's going to make 20 copies in my third period folder. So then you hit the save button to make sure it saves, and then this little triangle means run. And not only have you started, we have to give it permission, so you have to review permissions, and make sure that you accept script. And script's a Google company. It's nothing scary. It's just how Google does code. Okay, and then it's going to start to run. So as it starts to run, and we can already see there's some copies starting to populate over here, it will make your 20 copies in this folder. I'm going to pause for just about 30 seconds just so this gives Google a chance to think and my computer a chance to think, because I'm using a lot of memory right now using Loom and the Google Drive script. Okay, so we have gotten a few different examples here. So I'm going to open up one of these. Not that. There we go. And the thing I do next is maybe a little bit time consuming, but I think it pays off in the end. And this is instead of making students give me access, is I give them access. So let's say I want to use Brian Martusello, who is he's a teacher with me. And I wanted to give him access. I name this his name because it's easier for me to search in my Google Drive than if I know which student I'm looking for. And then where do I go? Oh, yes, sorry. Share. And then I will find him. I'm not going to notify him, but I am going to make the student an editor because they might need to change something, or I might have a more interactive HyperDoc than before. But if you just use them as like click sheets, you will not need to make them editors. You might not need that. And so I'm sharing that with him. Okay, and now that I've done that, if I sent him this link, he will be able to click on it. So I don't have to worry about going in there and getting him the share link. This link's the same. You could also send the editor link, but I like giving them access. I think it's easier. So we created a HyperDoc, we made copies in the Google script, and now we're naming each document after a student and giving that student individual access. And the reason we do that, or the reason I do that, is because I then put all my students' names in a list that they're able to click on. And let me open up that document for you. So this is almost what that document looks like. I've taken out the rest of their names just to hide their names, but normally this would say, like, if that was an A, like if that was Abigail, it's not Abigail, but Abigail, and she would click on her name and it would open up that document for her. Initially, this isn't very exciting because each student has the same document, but as you start to have more time, because you've already done this initial step of setting up a HyperDoc for each student, you can start implementing, you just copy and paste things over, like 3 pathways or 4 pathways or individual pathways. And so each student can only open their own document. So if there's some sensitive material, you don't have to worry about them getting to it. And then I just post this as a link to this playlist master on my Canvas page. The other wonderful thing about doing this, what I've really liked, is that it sets up for TNR or for tutorials or for students missing. I already have a HyperDoc for them. So I have 2 kids out this week for close contact for COVID. And they were asking, what should I do? And I'm like, instead of saying it's just on Canvas, I go through and I also update their HyperDoc and I send them the HyperDoc. Because they can also, with Google Docs, send me comments. And it's just a little more user-friendly for them, I think, and they like that. Especially for TNR, this works great. Let me go back over here. So that's how I created my playlist. And then after that initial HyperDoc, you can get more fancy with it. And that's how I moved into the next section on how to use playlists in the classroom. I start with simple HyperDocs, and there's examples here if you would like some. It'd be really cool to see a HyperDoc library one day because they're all different. But yes, that's my koi pond that you've seen. I have a turkey that I used around Thanksgiving. Then once you start with that simple one that they all use, you move towards more personalization. This Ombre Choice playlist, students could do some of it. They don't have to do all of it. And then, of course, this differentiated playlist, there's a bunch of stuff there. But then it's just kind of as creative as you want to make it and as you need it. The other thing I do is I just pull activities from Canvas. So I build most of the activities, or my teaching partners build most of the activities in Canvas. And then I might assign them to some students. I might not give that student all those activities, and I might work in some IXL or some other practice. And these are built for the entire year, which is outstanding because that's a lot of work up front. It took me probably about an hour and a half to get all my classes, like get all the copies in there, and then another hour to get all the names in there. But once that was done, it's much easier to use. And I'm able to copy and paste in playlists quickly. Like I said, useful for TNR and academic recovery as well. Where do we go from here? First, I would love this semester to work with students to help them make the playlist, because that's also moving them up Bloom's taxonomy, because they're going to organize some of the information. So maybe my algebra kids, when we get to quadratics, I give them a hyperdoc and I say, okay, maybe you could reorganize this for me in a different way because this information doesn't make sense in the order it's presented. So once they've seen that information, they could reorder it themselves. And then they also make a hyperdoc for us to use next year. That's really exciting. And the other thing that I'm really starting to read about, and I'm really excited about, that hyperdocs give us a really great opportunity for, and playlists give us a good opportunity for, is design literacy. So a lot of mine, they're kind of cutesy, or like the koi pond, or like this is color coordinated and ombre. But that's important. I think we're starting to see in this digital world, and COVID has just brought it to the forefront, is that students not only have to know material and not know how to present truthfully, but they have to present interestingly. And there's a great intro, if you want to dive further, that from Penn State is just, it gives the example of how math, back in the 1900s, math was seen as like this advanced thing, but now everyone does math. Even if you don't think you do math. And that's kind of like, design is not just for engineers anymore. It's not just for interior designers. It's for everyone. And it helps kind of build geometric thinking and build organizational thinking. And playlists kind of are the foundation that teachers get to use, and we could play around with that and have some designs. Another thing is just more fun to make things that are beautiful. I don't know if you find that, but it makes my day go by a little bit better when I can make things that look very nice as well. So sometimes it's good just to get the document done, but don't feel bad if you are making things look nice, because that's what I do too. So I hope you all have a great day, and thank you for listening, and I hope this is helpful.